afternoon. It looks like we still have some folks jumping on, so I'm going to give just another minute or so. If you could put in the chat box or in the question box if you can see my screen and hear me now, just to make sure. All right, it looks like folks can hear me. Well, good afternoon. I am so glad you guys are joining this webinar today. I see that some of you are joining individually and some of you are joining in teams, so we appreciate your time. My name is Tracy Hagman. I'm the Professional Development Manager at Curriculum Associates, and Tracy Curvin is actually the PD lead for Volusia, and I'll have her contact information at the end of this webinar. But two Tracys, like, what are the chances? So congratulations to all of you for making it past Halloween and beginning the month of November, and now we're rolling into the holidays. I know that you are all in much need of a break this time of year. So we're going to add another thing to your plate, but I just want to assure you today that we're going to give you the tools and resources that you need to best prepare you and your students. So once again, thank you for joining. And I will be checking the question box periodically. So please go ahead and type things in if you have questions, and we'll get started. So today's webinar is about getting good data with iReady for your kindergarten students. I know that your schools have been using iReady Diagnostic in 1st through 5th grades, but for some of you, this might be your first exposure to the diagnostic. And for some of you, maybe you taught another grade and you've already delivered this, so this is just a review. I want to encourage you to reach out to the experts at your school, because you have many, and make sure that you get their support. But like I said, Tracy and I will both be there for you with any questions you might have along the way. So I've already done a sound check. I just want to let you know that you're all in listen-only mode, just so we won't have a lot of background noise. But if you have something to add to the conversation, please put it in the question box. On the right-hand side, if you've never done a webinar before, you could be on with a computer audio or your phone, and that arrow will help make that box smaller if you want to hide it because it's covering up something on your screen, or if you want to open it back up. Your questions will be typed in that box there. And then I do have 5 handouts that have been uploaded. We have a teacher success guide that you might already have a hard copy of. If not, then this digital copy will help support you with what you need. And then also you'll see that we have some digital readiness tools as we go along, so that we can help prepare your students for getting ready for the diagnostic. So our goal today is to prepare and motivate your kindergarten students to do the best by equipping you with the resources that you'll need, so that we get reliable data to drive your instruction. And you might have data that you're already using in your classroom, so hopefully this will just be a support to that data. Now, it's hard on a webinar, but I'm going to make sure that I honor your time. But being present is challenging for all of us on a webinar, and especially on a Wednesday afternoon. So please make the best use of your time today and be present and be open to new ideas that we're going to explore together. So what I want to start out with is asking you, this might be the first time that you're giving an online assessment to your kindergarten students, or maybe you've done, I know some of you have done flickers, I'm not sure if all of you have, But what are some of those barriers that you and your kindergarten students might encounter when they're taking a computer-based assessment for the first time? I'm going to give you a minute to think about that, and if you'll go ahead and type into that question box some of your responses. Thank you for sharing your responses. So some people said logging on. Absolutely. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks with that. Being able to use a computer and a mouse. We're going to talk about that first thing. No experience using a computer. A lot of your students are touchscreen babies and they're coming in for the first time, and this is the first time they've had to touch a mouse to use it. Easily distracted for sure. More people saying using a mouse and logging in. Exiting out of the test. Yes, that might happen. I'm just going to let you know now, if they accidentally log out, it picks right up where they left off. And then someone said they're not used to using a laptop. So thank you so much for your responses. So let me assure you that we're going to be covering many of those challenges today. And what I don't cover, please reach out if we miss one. So let's start out with digital readiness. Yes, your students come in and they know how to use a touch screen and they use mom or dad's phone, or some of them, but many of them for the first time might be sitting down and using a computer or a laptop or a mouse. So let's talk about how to get them ready for that. And this is not just for iReady Diagnostic, this is for using a computer at all. So we heard the needs of kindergarten teachers, and we have a whole suite of digital readiness lessons that will help your students get ready for that computer-based testing. And I'm going to show you where to download these, and we'll do it together. But we're going to go to iReady Central, and then when we go there on the left-hand side, we have using iReady with kindergarten. And when we do, it's going to open up lots of resources to help you prepare. And one of those is the digital readiness for kindergarten lessons. So this is what our digital readiness kit looks like. It has a family letter, and it has lessons to help students with the parts of the computer, using a mouse or a touchpad, controlling the cursor, interacting with buttons, and then a checklist if they're ready to take the diagnostic. Now, in the perfect world, all of our students would be ready to take the diagnostic. But we know that there's some kindergarten students that might not be developmentally ready, but we're still going to have to give them the test, right? Because it's a requirement of our school or district. So just know that if you have that handful of students that aren't ready after you go through these digital readiness lessons, they're going to take the diagnostic and their score might not be as accurate as it will when they take it at the end of the year. So we just have to know that as kindergarten teachers, that it's going to take our students developmentally, some of them longer than others. Now, you are super lucky in Volusia because you're not getting this first assessment until November 18th to December 18th. So your students have already had time to navigate through maybe some of these challenges in these first few months. So let me show you what these lessons look like. So our first digital readiness lesson is just teaching the parts of the computer. And the picture in the middle is just some creative kindergarten teachers that have come up with activities based on this lesson. But we need to teach kids what a mouse is, and a screen and a keyboard. But along with that, we need to teach them how to use a mouse and where their pointer finger goes and where their thumb goes and their pinky and ring fingers. So there's a song in here and an activity for lesson 2 on using the mouse. Lesson 3 is about helping them to control the cursor and hover and click and go over certain things. I'm going to show you what this looks like as we interact in a second. This is just a screenshot, but it's controlling that cursor. And then lesson 4 is actually practicing interacting with buttons and answer choices so that they're seeing this before they sit down to take the diagnostic the first time. So let me show you where to find these resources. I'm opening Google Chrome, and I can just type in iReadyCentral.com. This is a go-to place for you as a teacher where we have tons of resources to help support you with your iReady implementation. If you're going to Teachers Pay Teachers or something like that to find iReady materials, please go here first. This is our free resource for you, and really we have a plethora of information. So I'm going to scroll down and go to that Using iReady with Kindergarten. So this section is just for you based on needs that we've heard over the years. And when I scroll down here, this is where that digital readiness kit is. I wanted to download it for a mouse or a touchpad. And then in a little bit, I'm going to show you, scroll down a little further. I'm going to show you this preparing the students for the diagnostic, because you're going to want to open this up later as well and download it. It's a PowerPoint that you're going to show your students before they take the diagnostic. All right, so let me show you what lesson 3 and lesson 4 look like. So this is lesson 3, and the purpose of it was to control the cursor. And it will be a little hard to hear because you're listening off of my phone with my computer, but it is helping the students
over each shape as many times as you'd like. When you're finished, click on the green arrow.
Just helping them listen for those directions, control the cursor, and learn how to interact with that green button. This is just a way to engage them, learning how to use the cursor. So as a kindergarten teacher, what you would want to do is open, so when you open lesson 3, it looks like this. So this is lesson 3. And you would want to show it whole group or in a small group. And then you would want to open with this link, this interactive tool that I was just showing you. So when I click on this link, it opens. And you could just put this activity in a center on your room. It's just an interactive PDF. And then once your students have mastered using the cursor and navigating, then you would move on to lesson 4. Lesson 4 helps them a little more to interact with the buttons, for them to see the speaker icons for the first time. Let me show you. So on this, we want to show students when they want to hear the directions.
Click on each square as many times as you'd like. When you're finished, click on the Done button.
They're hovering over that speaker icon and then learning to click on the object and learning about clicking on that Done button. Because you know, otherwise you're going to have kids sitting there and they're going to wonder why they're not getting the next question, and it's because they need to hit that Done button.
Click on each square as many times as you'd like. When you're finished, click on the Done button.
So we scaffold this activity for them.
Click on each sea animal as many times as you'd like. When you're finished, click on the Done button.
Once they learn to click and go over the speaker, then we're going to show them what it's like to interact with one speaker icon, and then we're going to show them multiple speaker icons, because they're going to see questions where they need to click on the multiple different speakers that go with the answer. And you can see how the kids playing with this will get them excited about. Now, this is a question that they might see something like this on the diagnostic,
Roll over the speaker button in each box. Then click on each sea animal as many times as you'd like. When you're finished, click on the Done button.
So they'll find out how to
Roll
go
over the
to the
speaker button.
directions.
I'm a starfish. I'm a crab. I'm a seahorse.
All right, so I just want you to think about, if you're working with a grade level team, how you might use this in your classroom and when you might find the time. That's why we're doing this webinar a little bit before your diagnostic, so you'll have time to roll this out. So just have that conversation real quick, and if you have anything that's enlightening that you want to share, put it in the question box. All right, as we talked about before, of course, our hope is that kids can control the cursor and click purposefully and roll over a speaker button and click on answer choices and click on the Done button and accomplish that before they take the diagnostic. But like I said, that is the best laid plans, and we know that those don't always happen exactly like we want them to. But it will help you to know that you've prepared your students, and it will also alleviate some frustrations for you when you take them into the lab for the first time. We also have that PowerPoint, and we're going to go through it in a little bit so that you can see what you also want to show your students before they take the diagnostic. So let's move on and talk about what the diagnostic is and what it's all about. I'm sure you've talked to your colleagues and they've told you how the diagnostic works, but what it is it's a way for us to diagnose, just like when you go to the doctor, and sometimes you go to the doctor and find out everything's okay, and we always have ways that we can improve, but everything's okay, and sometimes we go to the doctor and find out that we might need a prescription for certain things, right? Or we might need to exercise more, or maybe we need to take some medication. But in the diagnostic, we're diagnosing what students can do, and then also what they can't do and where they need support. From that diagnostic, Volusia County Schools do not have online instruction, but online instruction would be given for those students who need it. But we do have teacher-led instruction and next steps. So you can take the information from the diagnostic and find out and have resources to help support you in your classroom. So from that adaptive diagnostic, we find out so much information. So let's talk about a little how that works. We have a question bank of thousands and thousands of questions that our students receive based on how they answer the question. The awesome part about an adaptive diagnostic is that our students are going to get an assessment that is especially for them. They're going to start out with a kindergarten level question, and then we're going to find out if they know it or they don't know it. And then the test is going to adapt based on what they know and what they don't know. If students get it correct or get a series of questions correct, they're going to get more difficult questions asked to them. And then if they don't get it correct, then we're going to adapt back down and keep adapting until we find the actual performance level of a child. Now, it's super important as educators that we prepare our students before they go in for the diagnostic, because it is different than other assessments that they've been given, especially our higher level of students who are used to getting all their questions right and work being easier for them maybe than some other students. All of our students need to know when they go in for the diagnostic, we're going to challenge their brain and find out what they know and what they don't know. And let me tell you a story. When I was an assistant principal, and this is truly what happened. I saw a kindergarten class come out of finishing the diagnostic, and I asked the teacher, like, what is wrong? She had kids crying in her class. I'm like, what's wrong? And she said, I don't know. They just got upset. They said the questions were too hard. And then the next day, another kindergarten class was taking the diagnostic, and the students walked out, and the kids were smiling. And I asked the students, you guys did a great job. I can tell by your faces. And they said, we're so smart. We got hard questions. So the difference in the teacher preparation made all the difference in how the students responded to the diagnostic. Literally tears to kids thinking they were the smartest things on the planet. So I want to encourage you, as we're going through and talking about how we can get the best data from our students, that we need to prepare our students and let them know before they go in that they're going to get questions that are hard. And if they don't know it, take their best guess and move on. Because we're finding out what they know and what they don't know yet. Because that's how we can best support our students. So not only are we going to do that for the whole test, but we're going to do it within each domain so that you find out what students know and what they don't know in phonological awareness, in phonics, in high frequency words, vocabulary, comprehension of literature, and comprehension of informational text. You can see that we are assessing a lot of different domains. And so this is why we recommend for our kindergarten students that they take the reading assessment in short chunks. We recommend 2 or 3 20 to 30 minute sessions. Now, if it takes a while to log in, you don't want to give 20 minutes for yourself. But make sure your students, we know that their attention span is short, so make sure that you are giving this assessment in smaller chunks. Otherwise, students are just going to get fatigued, especially because it's asking harder questions and then easier questions, and they are just going to want to give up. So work with your administration to create the best schedule for your students and make sure that you are completing the reading assessment in 2 or 3 sessions. For math, the same kind of thing is going to happen, but it's going to be numbers and operations, algebra and algebraic thinking, geometry, and measurement and data. So there's a couple different ways that I've seen teachers keep track of which domain has been assessed. One, I'm going to show you in a second, we have a diagnostic status report, and that's going to let us know how far along kids are. The other thing I've seen teachers do is give their kids some Post-it notes, because between each of these domains, kids get a little game break or a breathing break. And as soon as that comes up, I've seen some teachers have their kids put the Post-it note on the side of their computer. And then the teacher can look over and go, oh, Johnny has 2 Post-it notes. I need to have him get off and take a break. Or I need to go over and tell him to slow down. And Sam only has 1 Post-it note. She's where she needs to be. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to show you what it looks like when we log in together. If you want to take a picture of this, if you have an extra computer in your room and you want to log in, you can do that. Or you can just follow along with me, because I'm just going to show you a demo site. And right now, if you log in as yourself, you won't have any data to see. So I'm just going to show you an overview of what this looks like. I'm going to give you a couple minutes, and I'm going to check the questions while you do that. So a couple really great questions that I saw is, would you recommend if they already know how to use a computer? I would not recommend that you go through that. You're only going to use those digital readiness if they know how. Someone asked if they don't listen to all three, can they just click one and go? Yes, they can. It does not force them to listen to all three. So make sure that you're showing them that all three are there. And is the done button always available or only after they click it? Yes, it's always available. So once again, you have to show them that. So this is just a demo site for today. This is not the way you would normally go in. And for this demo site, the URL is pd.i-ready.com. And like I said, you don't have to have this beyond today, so no worries if you don't. So I'm going to go ahead and log in so you can see what your iReady dashboard looks like. I don't know how many of you have actually been here before, but this is my dashboard. At the top, it gives me menus that I can go to. And this is the one you'll probably use the most, is reports. Help is where I will find iReady Central if I want to go there. And if I get lost, if I just click on the iReady icon in the top left-hand corner. We've also added these tiles here, and these just are to help you get somewhere quicker or to give you an overview. So if I want to go to the diagnostic results, this is just an overview, but I have to click here to go to the actual report. And we're going to talk about what all this means in just a second. All right, so let's talk about real quick. Your students are sitting down for the diagnostic. They're logged on. They're ready to go. And maybe I forgot to tell them about the post-it idea. And now I'm concerned because I look over and William looks like he's going way too fast. And I've already gone over and talked to William and told him he needs to slow down, but I'm still concerned maybe he's going way too fast. So we have a diagnostic status report that will help us with that. So if I click on diagnostic status and I go to monitor student status, it's going to tell me, and this has all of my students, this is a demo site. It has told me that 6 students haven't started, none are in progress, and none are completed. I'm going to show you what it looks like, what you might see from your student. So this would show me that Justin here is 51% finished. And if I just got into the lab, I'm concerned he's going way too fast. So this lets me know the status of how they're currently working. It also lets me know, because we only have 21 days to take the diagnostic in our world. In your county, you have a little longer, but if students start the diagnostic like Lily, if she doesn't finish it in 3 days, she's going to have to start the diagnostic again because we have 21 days on our calendar to have her finish. So that's going to let you know the status and let you help your students. When they are finished with the diagnostic, we get these rush flags. And it lets us know who rushed more with these red alerts and who rushed a little less with these yellow alerts. So our goal is to walk around and monitor and catch our kids that are clicking and get them to slow down so that we don't have to see these rush alerts. And I've heard teachers, some creative ideas is they have like a no rush reward because they want their students to slow down and take their time. But whatever you can do to avoid those rush flags, because we know if kids are going too fast through their work, that we're not going to get the best results that we need from them. So I'm going to go back to the corner so I can go to the main dashboard. And now my students have finished their test. Everybody's finished. I checked the diagnostic status, and everybody in my class is finished with reading, and everyone's finished with math. And now I want to see their results. So I'm going to go to, I can go here to diagnostic results and click here. Or if I wanted, I could go to reports at the top and go to diagnostic results here. So when I'm looking at the diagnostic results, on this demo site, I have lots of different students, so I'm just going to pick a kindergarten class. I'm looking at reading. So why is it so important to get great data on the diagnostic? Well, the reason is because we get this amazing report afterward. We find out how we would love, by the way, all of this green. We find out how many students are on or above grade level, how many students are one grade level below. And good news for kindergarten, you're not going to have any red students. They're either on grade level or one grade level below. So you're not going to have any red here. And not only are we going to find this overall placement, but because the diagnostic was adaptive for each domain, we're going to find out in each domain how many students are proficient and how many students are one grade level below. Now, I use the word proficient, but I need to be careful with that because in iReady, we want kids by the end of the year to be mid-kindergarten or higher. So what you're going to see on your reports is some of your students might fall in the emerging K level. Some of your students might fall in the early level. Early does not mean time of year. It means that they have a partial understanding of the kindergarten standards. Mid is where we want all kids by the end of the year. Mid or late or higher. So right here, when I look at Carla is an overall placement of mid. Her scale score is 409. This tells me that she is proficient in enough of the kindergarten standards to be proficient in iReady. And for our intermediate grades, that correlates very strongly to their standardized assessment when we get mid or higher. And then it's going to let me know, well, in phonological awareness, Carla is super strong. She's at a grade 1. In phonics, she's at a mid-K, so she's right where she needs to be. In high frequency words, she has surpassed those grade level expectations. She's at a late K, and then she's at a mid or late K in these other areas. So let's look at a student who is working at an emerging K level. So when I look at Julia, her overall placement is emerging K. When I'm trying to support her in small group, and we'll do this when we come into your schools for professional development, but like for phonological awareness, she's at an early mid K, I wouldn't worry as much, or phonics, but Julia needs support in high frequency words and vocabulary, in literature and informational text. So I would know that I want to start working on that with small group with Julia. I'm going to click on Julia's name and see what are some recommendations that we have for her based on her data. So for Julia, she is starting out significantly low. In fact, she's so low that I can't even see in the green area up here. She needs to get all the way to 396 to be mid on level. That's where we want her by the end of the year to be proficient. We have a lot of work to do with her teacher. I can see here that her overall placements, and then I can see the instructional recommendations. And I can tell you right now, this is a demo site, and so just know that some of those data is a little odd. It'll be different for your kids. But when I want to look at what to work on with Julia for phonics, for example, this is going to show me what she can do. She can recognize a name, all of the uppercase letters of the alphabet, but then this is going to show me her next steps for instruction. It's going to give me some tools to help her, and for her, because she's at a pre-K level, she also needs support in with our Brigance readiness lessons. And these are actually in iReady Central. We offer this free resource for you. It's one of our pre-K resources, pre-K curriculum. And if you just type in the word Brigance, B-R-I-G-A-N-C-E, in iReady Central, then you'll get this free resource for your students that are at an emerging K level. So I'm going to go ahead and close this at the student level. And I know I told you a lot of information here. We're going to look at a couple screenshots just to recap, and then I'm going to ask you just to think about how you might use this data. So this is an example of that diagnostic results for a student. And on that, we get their overall scale score. We see by each domain where they've placed. We find out how much they need to grow with that typical and stretch growth measure. And when we come in for PD, we'll talk to you more about that. And then we also get the diagnostic results for our class. And here we can use this report to start working with our students in certain areas when we work with them in small groups or as a whole group instruction. And we find out some of those domain areas where our class is stronger and maybe has some areas that need support. So I want you to think about real quick and talk to someone if they're with you. How will these reports help your students? And how will they help you support instruction? I'm going to give you a little bit of time to do that before we move on. Thank you for sharing your comments. Someone is saying it's very helpful for small group intervention. Absolutely. That's why we want that great data so that we can plan for that. Someone asked about Brigance, if it is for math too. Yes, it is. It has reading and math, emerging K lessons within there. Someone says that they'll definitely use the information to assist them in creating activities for their students. Awesome. I'm going to know where each student is struggling. Absolutely. Identifying students for tutoring. Love it. Yeah. So you can see as we're looking at the results here that the better data that we have from our students, the more it's going to help us. So preparing them is key. So Volusia's kindergarten diagnostic window opens on November 18th and closes on December 18th. So you need to talk with your school administrator about what your schedule is going to look like. Because remember, like we said earlier, we want to assess our students in 2 or 3 sessions for reading and then 2 or 3 sessions for math. The majority of your students are going to finish in 2 sessions. So what a lot of times kindergarten teachers will do is maybe designate one teacher on their team that's going to pull those students who haven't finished on another day. So you guys can work through all of that with your administration, and they're already pros because they're doing it for your first grade students. So our next question is, we're going to roll out the digital readiness if our students need it, and we're going to get that off of iReady Central. What else can we do to prepare and motivate our students? Well, we have a plethora of resources in iReady Central. So much if you just don't know what to do with your time at night because you're finished cutting all of your laminating and doing everything you have to do for kindergarten. You can explore iReady Central in that kindergarten section, and we have lots of different resources. And here's just some examples for you. In the upper left-hand corner, there are some encouragement cards if you wanted to put something on their desk the morning of. I taught intermediate most of my life, and I used to do this before we took FSA or any big assessment, trying to motivate the kids and get them excited. We have some data chat worksheets on the bottom left. We have data chats for before the diagnostic, if you want to talk about their scores after the diagnostic. This is an example of one that you might use for kindergarten because it has some great visual representations and just a little checklist. And it could just be that you do this with your students in a little small group and you have it in a plastic sleeve and you just talk about it. However you think it's going to work best for your class. We have certificates of achievements if you wanted to give it to your students who didn't have a rush flag and wanted to have that little reward for them if they didn't rush. And then the things we haven't thought about, other teachers have. Instead of going on teacher paid teachers or other places that you might go, we have like our own little Pinterest of iReady with Find Ideas and More, and I'll show you where that is in just a second. And I'll show you Brigance as well. So if I'm in iReady Central here, I'm going to go back, click on the iReady Central, and if I type in Brigance, you're not going to want to print this out, but when you download this, I think it's 185 pages or something like that, you're going to see the readiness activities for Emerging K in math and reading for your students if you need to work with them on an Emerging K level. The other thing, Find Ideas and More, when I scroll down, right here is where I can find ideas that other educators have submitted. So if I want to see some K2 ways to celebrate success or prepare for the diagnostic, I can find amazing ideas that educators have submitted. Everything from painting rocks to doing pencils to celebrating with calls home, whatever works for you in your school. But we know that the more that we prepare our students, the better they're going to do and the better results that we're going to have. So speaking of preparing, let me show you that PowerPoint that I referred to earlier. So you're definitely going to want to download this PowerPoint. I did not upload it here to our resources because it was just too large, but you're going to want to find it in iReady Central. And this is what you're going to want to show your students the day before the diagnostic or the day of, depending on your schedule. And this really just walks your kids through and lets them know what to expect. I'm just going to go through this really quick. Remind them not to rush. Remind them that it's adaptive and some things are going to be hard, some things are going to be easier, and others are going to be just right, but we just want them to try their best. What their questions might look like, because we're trying to find out what they know and what they need to know, what things I should be teaching them next. When students are ready to log in, this is what they're going to see. So how to log your students in is always a challenge, and there's lots of different ways that work for people. At my previous school, we had the luxury of having some resource teachers, and so they just had like a couple times a day, they had to come into the lab for 5 minutes, and they were like our kindergarten iReady login team, and we went in, got the kids logged in and ready, and then they left in 5 or 10 minutes and we're done. I've also seen some schools use some responsible 4th or 5th graders that have come in and done the same thing. And then for schools that don't have that capacity, I've also seen some teachers just have the kids practice with their username and password with maybe a calculator in your room, or for the password if it's all numbers, or I've seen them use a computer in their room and type it in a Word document, practicing their username and password. Whatever works for you to get your kids ready, because we know that that login process can be very taxing. So once they're logged in, then you'll have to tell them if you want them to pick reading or math. And then once they do that, click on the book or click on the sign, then it's going to launch and they're going to start the math diagnostic or the reading diagnostic. As soon as they've logged in, there is a video that they are required to watch before they launch the actual assessment. And we have that video for you so that they can learn what the tools are for math, what things they're going to encounter for math or reading. And so when you have this PowerPoint, you can click on math or reading and launch that video so you can show it in your classroom before they go in for the test. And then we want to remind them to take their time, not to rush, answer carefully, try their best. And for math, we want them to go in with paper and pencil and show their work. We want to start creating healthy digital habits now, and teaching them to show their work even when they're using a computer is an important skill that they learn now. And then let them know that we're going to have a report at the end that we can share with them and their family to see how they've done. And if you decide to have a class incentive or an individual incentive, then that will even help your results all the more. So I hope that everything that we've learned today will help you to get inspired about preparing your students so that you'll get good data. I know we've covered a lot. I want to just give you a few next steps. You want to go into iReady Central and you want to download that digital readiness pack. And you also want to download the Preparing for the Diagnostic PowerPoint. You want to start using those digital readiness lessons with your kindergarten students and centers as soon as you can. If you are short on time, like I know most of you are, lesson 4 is critical. So at least use lesson 4 where they can interact with the speakers and the buttons. And then you want to make sure that you are showing that Preparing for the Diagnostic PowerPoint either the day of or the day before or both to make sure that your students are ready. I thank you for your time today. For that person that asked the tech question, I want to direct you to iReady.com/support. That's going to help you with some of those tech needs. We also have a great customer service number. They really are helpful and have great responses. And then I also want to direct you to your professional development lead in Volusia, which is Tracy Curvin, and reach out to her with any questions. Her email is right there. We thank you so much for your time today, and please reach out if you have any questions. We're here for you, and I will stay on for a few more minutes if you have questions right now. Thank you all so much and have a great day.